Okay. Welcome to everyone joining the call now. I guess we can wait for 1 more minute until we really kick off the workshop, until everybody has dialed in. But I would already get us started with a general info from the side of us women. So welcome again to everybody joining. I'll get us started. I wanted to share with you just a little information up front. So this workshop was organized in the course of International Women's Day. We have already had workshops with Finn-Marie, luckily, and for this year we've also organized 2. But this one we put in this week because we already knew that we were organizing some events in the course of International Women's Day this year, which took place last week. And this week, a couple of events were organized by our Axel Springer Women team. And I just wanted to point out that we also have a website. It belongs to the Diversity and Inclusion website of Axel Springer. And we are one of the ERGs of Axel Springer, Employee Resource Groups. And here you can find what we are working for, what we stand for, and also our event formats. So just very briefly, I guess a couple of you already know about this. Our Inspire series is the biggest event format that we organize. It was supposed to happen yesterday with Nidal, our one of the members of our Axel Springer's executive board, but it was postponed. So it'll happen a bit later this month. It is where we invite one special guest to speak about her or his career in the company or like the career path so far, and answers questions, speaks about specific topics that are of special interest to her or him, and is like basically being interviewed from a moderator or the crowd. Then we have our Connect Up sessions. They are networking events, and one is happening this evening in Journalist Club in Berlin, here in the Axel Springer headquarters, and I'm very happy about it. It's a after work with live music, and it's just all about bringing people together, connecting, speaking about anything that's on your mind with colleagues, especially with colleagues that you don't know yet, because I believe that connecting and networking is a very important factor of diversity and inclusion, also in the course of gender equality. And the third event series that we organize is the Grow sessions, on the right-hand side here. And this workshop belongs to this event series. It's one specific topic. We invite a guest like Finn-Marie, like Karolina here from external. We invest some of our budget for this to provide you with these kinds of workshops. So we inform about any specific topic, a special topic that we believe will make you be able to grow, learn, and benefit from it. Yeah, and here on the website you can also see some of our past events and the core team members and contact details if you are interested. Yes, so moving on to today. Karolina, I'm very, very happy to have you here again. We already invited you before. Some of you maybe already participated. Today we decided that one topic, it's quite a, general topic already. But a couple of years ago I only learned about ETFs, and I guess they gained quite some popularity over the last couple of years. And as far as I'm informed, it's a very good way to invest money, to save money, to gain, financial independence, to really maybe also invest in something that you believe in. Whereas next time when Karolina will be here, we'll have the special topic of sustainable investments. So there we will also learn a bit more about this. Today it's a general overview about ETFs as a way to invest financial resources. So I'll hand over right now. We have until 2 p.m. We have time for questions in the end. And one last information, administrative, you can of course turn your cameras on if you like. There was an info in the invite that you should turn it off, but I guess the number of participants is okay, so you can turn it on. Just keep yourself muted, please, and raise your hand if you have a question but we were planning to have questions in the end. And you can send any question you have in the chat throughout the workshop, definitely, and we will then ask it to Karolina after her presentation. All right, I hope I didn't forget anything. Feel free to post in the chat if I did. And now I would hand over to Karolina finally.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Karolina, to having me here today. I will just present my presentation. I hope you can see it now. Yeah, do you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's start. So time is money, so don't waste our time, and let's just talk about ETFs and the options that you can start building your wealth. Just quickly, what we are doing as FinMari, so we are the first European financial investment and wealth management solution for women. We do not exclude men, but our main goal is actually women to empower and give them chance and opportunity to start investing their own money. And we also have the special agreement with Axel Springer network. So if you would like to, after the workshops or after this presentation, would you like to go deeply into your private investment? We are more than welcome to. We are very happy to help you with that. And we have the special code only for Axel Springer community members, and in order to book the appointment with us. So we also offer not only the workshops for the companies, but we also build very strong network of independent financial advisors and also women who are also investing already with us. So feel free to use the code if you are interested. But let's start with the topic. So basically, what is an ETFs? Today we will go a little bit deeply into the topic of ETFs. And ETFs, the short name of it is exchange trade funds, are at the moment the most popular financial instrument that investor, female or male investor, add to their portfolio. Why? In order to exposure and in order to have better diversification. So rather than having a research and analyzing the individual stocks or individual bonds, you can basically, as an investor, track your performance of a group of different stocks or an index. And what is basically ETFs? ETFs refers to a financial security that contain a basket of different stocks, commodities, or even other assets class like real estates or equities that in some cases tracked on a different benchmark to measure the performance. So in this case, you do not have to invest in 40 different companies which are listed on a DAX stocks exchange, but you can easily invest with one ETFs in DAX or S&P 500 or any others of them. So basically, ETFs, they can track a particularly groups of different shares, bonds, commodities, currencies, and different assets. And today morning, I checked a little bit, let's say, the mark overview in terms of ETFs. At the moment, there are more than 8,000 ETFs. They are available globally. So on one hand, it shows that the investor demand is very huge. On the other hand, it also shows that improvement in the technology also help to get easiest way and make the ETFs easy to invest. ETFs are traded on the stock exchange, so no matter if you are in German locator or in US or in any other European countries, you can buy the funds you can buy the ETFs or shares in the same way that you can buy the single stocks or the single bonds. And there are a lot of different types of ETFs, and they covering a huge range of different assets class and investment approaches. I just brought a couple of them, and I would like to elaborate a little bit on that. But as I mentioned, 8,000 different ETFs worldwide, and there are at the moment more than 1,700 different providers actually of the ETFs. So we have the classical equity ETFs. So equity exchange trade funds, they tracking exactly the different group of stocks, such as large companies like Microsoft, Amazon, like Johnson & Johnson, but also the small business, and they call small caps in this case. They also tracking dividends paying stocks, like for example, Disney, Netflix. And they also particularly tracking a different countries on specific sector. So for example, you can also invest in a technology, you can also invest in customer, banking, pharmaceutical topics, environment topics, and ETFs allows you actually to gain the exposure of different variety of the stocks. So no matter what kind of investor you are, if you are willing to invest in the stocks ETFs, you have a bunch of opportunity nowadays. The second option that you have they are called index ETFs. So index exchange trade funds allows you to gain exposure to entire stock market index. So like, for example, S&P 500 or NASDAQ 100 or NASDAQ 500 or DAX 40 or small caps, tech DAX, MDAX, and so on. So their goal is actually to track the performance of the whole benchmark. So as I mentioned, instead of investing only in S&P 500 different US companies, you invest in one index and at the same time. Then we have the sector ETFs. So basically sector ETFs, they tracking a basket of company stocks in a specific industry. For example, it could be the iShares Nasdaq biotechnology. It could be the stocks which invested in topic of global autonomic and electric vehicles, or topic of sustainable investment, green investment. So the different sectors are very, very good combined with the options that you have with the ETFs. So you don't have to worry about just having only exposure on one sector, because due to the fact that ETFs investing worldwide in a different sector and branches at the same time, and also geographically, they are also helping you to diversify your portfolio. On the other hand, you have the classical bonds ETFs. And the bonds exchange trade funds, they provide you the fixed income to diversify the classical bonds portfolio. So the bonds are the classical assets class, which give you a little bit more security in compared to stocks. And bonds offer more price stability than the stocks. No? So they have pretty low correlation to the stocks market, and they are pretty stable in terms of markets movements. And bonds ETFs are more accessible for those investors who would like to invest a little bit in security aspects. So bonds and ETFs give you also the exposure on the different branches and different topics, and also different aspects, but with the bonds ETFs, you cannot gain huge return on investment. And basically how much return on investment you can get from each of the different securities, I will show you later on in our short exercise. Then we have the classical commodity ETFs. So the commodity ETFs, they allow us gain the access to liquid commodities market. So for example, with one ETFs, you can invest in oil, gold, copper, coffee, even cacao and stuff like this, you know. Commodity ETFs are often based on derivatives. So they are a little bit complicated products. And that's why in terms of return on investment, it's harder to get it, and they carry a little bit higher risk. So if you consider to invest in the classical commodities like silver, gold, oil, coffee, cacao and stuff like this, I would recommend you to go to the classical commodities, so like really physical commodities rather than ETCs. Then, on the other hand, you can also invest it with the ETFs in a single currencies or a basket of currencies. So, for example, if you are based in Europe and you have Euro portfolio, you can basically invest in US dollar. No? And some ETFs trade a currency directly, and the others depends. It's also the combination of derivatives product. But please be aware, currency ETFs allow you to hedge your portfolio but they are very, very volatile. So if you are not a big fan to go ups and go downs scenarios in the portfolio, please rather concentrate on the classical equity and bonds ETFs in the first place. Then we have the specialty ETFs. So most of them, they invest in the typical tradings opportunities. So for example, they invest in equities, they invest in private equity ETFs, they invest in blockchain topics, they invest also in very, let's say, complicated financial products. They cost a little bit more as normally, as usual, and they have pretty higher risk, but the return on investment is, on the other hand, is pretty high as well. Most of them common actually ETFs, the art of ETFs, there are of course sustainable ETFs. So the sustainable ETFs, they focus on investment in stocks, but also in bonds that demonstrate the high environment, social, and governance standards. Probably some of you know this ESG criteria, environment, social, and governance criteria. And the idea behind sustainable ETFs is basically to eliminate exposure to the controversial business or to the controversial practice, like, for example, tobacco industry, like CO2 reduction. So it's more in terms of getting the not only the word better, but also the whole topic of governance, the whole topic of the right actually sustainable investment is included there. Yeah. So if you would like to if you know actually that you would like to invest in green investment opportunities, ETFs could be a very good chance for you on the other hand. But regarding the sustainable ETFs, at the moment, probably there are very, very low number of ETFs which have 100% sustainable exposure. So if you are very green investor and if you would like to put money into the real sustainable and green companies, probably the good option for you could be the classical mutual funds, so active managed mutual funds instead of ETFs. So far, I haven't found the ETFs which 100% they have this approach of sustainable investment. There are still a couple of companies inside the ETFs portfolio. They are not 100% green. But as I mentioned, it always depends from your attitude, from your awareness, and of course the capital that you have at the moment in order to invest. Then we have geographic ETFs. So geographic ETFs allows you to diversify your portfolio in other countries and region. So you don't have to invest only in Germany. You don't have to invest only in Europe. You can just invest broadly through the different regions, branches, but also you can easily invest your money in emerging markets. So the options nowadays, as you see, there are a lot of them. The question is, how do I start with the ETFs, and why the ETFs actually they are a good option for me? So first of all, ETFs, they are extremely cost efficient. So at the moment, you can buy ETFs between 0.12% to 0.6% maximum. Depends on the art of the ETFs. ETFs give you a lot of transparency. So they help you to demify your investing portfolio. When you find one ETF which is right for you, you can read a lot about this ETF. So you have all the information. You can download the fact sheets regarding the ETFs. You can look into the portfolio, how they evaluate last couple of years, and you have very good actually awareness also what are the costs, what is the risk profile of the ETFs. And of course, ETFs give you a lot of flexibility to trade. So if you need money for any reason, let's assume your emergency funds are not there, and you need to take money out from their account, or you consider to buy real estate and you need to put some start capital for the bank. You can use ETFs, of course, to to take money out. So with the ETFs, you can trade from Monday to Friday, from 9 to 5, basically in the open hours of the classical stocks exchange. ETFs give you also some tax benefits. So at the moment, if you invest in ETFs, stocks, mutual funds, basically in Germany, you have to pay 25% taxes on your return on investment. So let's assume you started with the ETFs portfolio, you gain a return of 3,000 euro, and you want to take this money out. So instead of paying 25% from 3,000 euros, you have taxed the deducted amount, which is for the singles 1,000 euro, and for the couples is 2,000 euro. So in case of 3,000 euro, if you are single, you pay 25% from 2,000 euro, basically. So it's better than nothing. In other European countries, there are not this option. So for example, in Austria, they don't have this tax-free options. In Switzerland, it's also calculated in a different way. So please remember, as soon as you buy the first ETF, keep in mind to apply for this tax-free amount, and it depends on the broker or the bank where you are with your account, where you are with your deposit account. You can apply for this document, and it's basically one page. You fulfill this one page and send it over to your bank or to your broker. Yeah, so that's why it makes sense to start invest with ETFs, and why I think the ETFs are suitable not only for women, but also for those ones who just want to start with the investment. First of all, you don't have to think much about what kind of companies you will put into your portfolio. ETFs are very convenient. You can buy it in very convenient way. You can sell it in any time. Everything depends on that. What are the aspects that you take into account when you build your portfolio? And basically, you should look into 5 different aspects in your portfolio. First of all, you have to consider how much return would you like to have. Will I be happy if I get the return on investment of 3%, or should I get a little bit more high return investment between 6 to 8%? Normally, if you look how the ETFs portfolio evaluate last couple of 10 years, per year, you can make the return on investment on ETFs between 6 to 8% on average. 6 to 8%, it's the return per year that you can make from the ETFs. But maybe for some of you, the topic of security is very important, yeah? So in this case, you are also able to find a couple of nice ETFs, basically invested, so bonds ETFs, where they give you a little bit more security, but on the other hand, the return on investment will be lower. So let's assume that you want to invest in a security portfolio because you have only the time horizon of 5 or to 7 years. In this case, you should look into the classical bonds ETFs, which give you a little bit more security on the long term. And the security, the classical bonds ETF, they don't volatilate as much as the classical stocks or equity ETFs. The third very important aspect before you make the decision to buy the ETFs is actually to think about your flexibility. So when do you want to have your money back? Do you want your money back after 3 years, after 4 years, or maybe after 10 years when you retire it? The longer time horizon that you have, in this case, you can go in the higher return ETFs. So you can concentrate more in this case on the stocks, equity ETFs rather on bonds ETFs. The next point, very important, is of course the cost of the ETFs. At the moment, as I mentioned, you pay between 0.12% on the ETFs to maximum 0.6%. Depends from the provider, depends from the online bank, online broker, or the regular bank advisor. And last but not least, the aspect that you also should take into your into account is actually how much work do you want to spend with the ETFs? Yeah? How much time do you want to spend in choosing the ETFs? How much time do you want to spend rebalancing your portfolio by the end of the day? Normally, as soon as you set up your portfolio, you should look into your portfolio 3 to 4 times in a year and do rebalancing. So what is rebalancing? So rebalancing is basically changing the accumulation in your portfolio. So let's assume that you invest in the equity ETFs plus bonds ETFs on the other hand, and you have the ratio, let's say 70% bonds ETFs and 30% equity ETFs. With the time, and of course with the return on the ETFs, you will get a different exposure or the different ratio on this both ETFs. That's why the rebalancing, it's a good opportunity, it's a good tool actually for you to back to your setup that you have at the beginning. It always depends, of course, from that if you have the saving plan on top of that, if you also put additional money on that, but all this kind of stuff, how you can evaluate your portfolio, I will show you shortly in a short exercise. Yes, and now the question is, what are the main points that you should should take into account when you select the ETFs? So first of all, you have to ask your free question. What exposure does ETF have? Yeah? How well does ETFs deliver the exposure? Yeah? So for example, do I invest only US markets, or do I invest very broad through all the countries, through all the branches? And how efficient can I access to the ETFs? Yeah? There are different ETFs which determine the better or the worst exposure. And of course, you should always look into the costs. So on average, between 0.2 to 0.6%, that are the average tracking error cost actually. Classical bonds and equity ETFs, they are pretty cheap nowadays. You can buy for example, one ETFs which cover 1,200 different companies and invest very worldwide. The name is the name of this ETFs is MSCI World Index, for example. And then this kind of ETFs you can buy for 0.1215%. But if you would like to invest a little bit more megatrends ETFs or topics ETFs, it could be the case that you have to pay 0.45%. Then the next big question is, how can I know that the ETFs are good? So first of all, you look also on the fund size. You look how the ETFs are big. So better try to choose the ETFs with the volume of more than 250. The optimal size of the ETFs will be 500 million euro. That's the size when we can say, okay, it's very established ETF, so it's the probability that something could go wrong, it's pretty low. Then the next aspect is you cook into the fund currency. You can invest with your ETFs in dollars, you can invest in euros, but please try to avoid the ETFs that are investing in very unstable currencies. Yeah. So for example, at the moment, you cannot buy any ETFs that are listed on a Russian stocks exchange. So also the Russian companies are excluded from the ETFs. And a couple of years ago, the big topic was for example, the Mexico currency with the peso, for example, which fluctuate extremely high up and down. So probably I wouldn't use it as a first choice. Yeah? So please concentrate on those currencies which are established. So at the moment, euro and US dollar. Then the next big question is, who is the issuer of the ETFs? We have at the moment 8,000 different ETFs, more than 1,200 different providers. Probably some of the names you know already, like iShares, like Luxor, like Amundi, like UBS, or like Wisdom Tree. And always look into the ETFs issuer and try to pick up the bigger and the established one. The next very important aspect is, of course, what there are differences between ETFs. So we have accumulating and distributing ETFs. And what are the differences between them? I will just explain you shortly. So basically, in accumulating ETFs, the dividends are distributed. And this dividend are distributed.
Karolina, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the screen sharing switched somehow. We can now see you and me.
Okay, because I see the screen. Wait, let me check. Let me do it again. Good that you told me. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank
good.
you.
So, have you seen the this slide?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that okay, and that's the actual slide. No? You can see it.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. Good that you told me. Okay. So let's back to the topic. What are the different parts of ETFs? So you have the accumulating ETFs and you have the distributing ETFs. So what are the distributing ETFs? So basically, distributing ETFs, they don't pay out all dividends directly to the shareholder, to the investor, but they reinvest it manually. Yeah. So let's assume that you put some money on top now, and in distributing ETFs, you will get this money directly to your reference account in this case. If we are talking about accumulating ETFs, which is basically the better options, the dividends are distributed and the accumulated ETFs will reinvest the dividends amount into the net value of the portfolio. So as a result, the total value of the fund is growing up. It's like a snowball effect, and you as an investor, you will benefit from the compound return over time. So the idea with ETFs is actually to use the accumulating ETFs because you profit from the compound interest rate on the long term, and even the small amounts that you get out of it will be reinvested. As an example, let's assume that we have ETFs, that these ETFs had value of 500,000 euro. And company said with these ETFs will distribute 5 euro dividends, yeah, as an example. And the company had at the moment, let's say 600, 500 outstanding shares. And due to the dividends of the shares, there will be 3 euro per dividend actually. So in order to get this 3 euro on your reference account, on your regular account, these 3 euros will be added into the value of the ETFs. So ETF's value goes up to 503,000 euro and will be reinvested. And so on the long term, make it sense to put money into the accumulating ETFs instead of distributing ETFs. But of course, in base of this, both of these cases, we have to take into account the tax implications, and depending on the tax policies of your country, let's assume we are sitting in Europe, different types of dividends may be taxable. In Germany, it's the case that as soon as you decide to take money out from your account, so you still keep it for a long time, and someday somehow when you retire it, you're taking money out, then you will get then you will have to pay this 25% tax on that. And then we have also the different art of ETFs. We have different replication of the ETFs. What is replication of the ETFs? So it's mean how the ETFs is constructed from the provider. And with the replication of the ETFs, they give you also opportunity to have the different exposure to the index. And we have physical replication and we have synthetic replication. In the physical replication, is the most straightforward, actually, to be honest. The ETF try to directly replicate or try to directly own the stocks or bonds that to the index. So let's assume you want to invest in DAX, 40 DAX companies. The ETFs take one-to-one copy-paste these 40 companies. In some cases, the index construction make it hard, or it could be expensive to buy all of these securities, and that's why ETFs need to be synthetically replicated. Yeah, instead of owning the underlying securities, the index performance will be actually delivered by a financial derivatives products. It's called swaps. Yeah, but physical replication is the most common way for the ETFs to replicate specific index, and it gives you as an investor comfort to note that you own exactly the same shares and bonds which are included in the index. Yeah. On the other hand, synthetic replication makes sense for those who would like to, let's say, have a higher return on investment in some cases. You know, for those investors who would like to actually do not like to have this fear of missing opportunity. Yeah? And because in some of the cases, synthetic replication give you a little bit higher return on investment, but on the other hand, they're also expensive on the way back. But in the first place, if you consider to buy ETFs, as I mentioned, please use the accumulating ETFs in the first place, and then in the replication type, use the physical one. On the other hand, you also need to look into the release date. So please do not invest in those ETFs which are pretty new on the market. So starting for the last 3 or 5 years. Always concentrate on the, let's say, those emittents and those issuers who are pretty long on the market, more than 5 to 7 years. As soon as you know the difference between the ETFs, as soon as you know what are the costs of the ETFs, the question is, how do I find the right financial products for me? So you have basically 4 options. So first of all, you can go to financial broker, you can go to your subsidiary of your bank and ask them to give you the portfolio of the different ETFs that they have in the portfolio. Please be aware, different banks, especially the classical branches banks, they do not have very broad ETF strategy portfolio. So they have a couple of the most common ETFs, but if you would like to invest very specific in a different topics like robotic, like AI, or even some of the sustainable aspects, it's pretty hard. Second option that you have, you can do it directly online, go to the classical online banks and online providers, and then select different ETFs. Always keep in mind what are the cost of the depot of your konto, of your investment account, what are the costs of the transaction, what are the costs of having saving plan, for example. The third option that you have, it's do-it-yourself option. So you do not concentrate on any classical online banks or financial industries, but you go into the trading platform. And nowadays on the German market, but also on the European market, you will find a lot of trading platform, independent trading platform, which give you pretty high exposure on the different ETFs options. But as I mentioned, please always keep in mind how much it costs me to set up the trading investment account, what are the monthly costs, or is there a monthly cost of buying ETFs and selling ETFs, what are the transaction costs on that, and what's happened if I wanna sell the ETFs from my portfolio. And last but not least, the option that you have, it's called robo-advisor. And robo-advisor is basically digital wealth management solution, which help you to set up the portfolio based on your risk profile, risk awareness, and select for you different ETFs, and also rebalance these ETFs in the future for you. When you know exactly that you want to start with the ETFs portfolio, in order to trade the stocks, bonds, or ETFs, you must first open the securities account with your bank, online broker, or with robo-advisor. And normally, after a couple of days after opening, you will receive the letter with access data to account number. You will receive all the stand list explaining how the account works. And then you have to transfer the desired amount from your current account. And normally, your current account is your salary account. And then you have to transfer the money from your current account to your investment account. As soon as you have invested your first money in securities, you will see the value plus, of course, the transaction cost. So please be aware of the brokerage fees, exchange depends fees. It should always be listed under your account. And if you decide to sell the ETFs for any reason, after the transaction has been settled, you see also the value of your securities, and you see exactly how much money, how much fees were deducted by the end of the day. Very important aspect, the bank and also the investment providers and trading platforms, they hold your securities in trust. That means even that the bank go insolvent or bankruptcy, even the trading platform go bankruptcy, you are still entitled to the shares that you belong to you. And at the moment, not only in Germany, but also in Europe, we have this 100,000 which is secure. So no matter what's happened with the bank, your deposit of 100,000 is safe at the bank. I also would like to show you the short explanation how you can do it with this robo-advisor, this financial investment providers. So basically, there are 5 steps, and everything is digital, everything is online. You don't get any paperwork on top of that. Everything is fully automated. So first of all, you create an account online with the robo-advisor company, and you answer on a few basic questions about your investment goals, time horizon, your risk tolerance. And then the robo-advisor analyzed the data, and based on the artificial intelligence, presents you the investment portfolio and investment strategy which best fits to your preferences. And the robo-advisors, they invest your funds in the chosen portfolio, but only with the ETFs. There are no robo-advisor which invest in the single stock or single equities or single commodities. Good thing about the robo-advisor is that they monitor your portfolio and they may trade if it's needed. If the market, for example, needs change, or if the markets go down, they are able to take the action and rebalance your portfolio. Robo-advisors are also very low fee tools. They have also all the tax efficient options. So if you don't have enough time to do it on your own, it could be the good option to do it with the robo-advisor. I also brought the comparison what's happened if you go to the traditional advisor. If you go to the traditional advisor and you have a moderate to high risk tolerance, you could pay between 0.5 to 2% of asset. Yeah. So it's pretty expensive. So always keep in mind, if you want to have the personal attitude, how much you will pay for the service. Most of the traditional advisors, the big one, they have large minimum balance. So you have to start with 5,000 for example. With the robo-advisor, you can theoretically start with $500 or euro or even less. You can start with monthly saving plan of 25 euros as well. They are very objective actually tools. Yeah, they are not very customized because robo-advisor are very. You have to imagine that robo-advisor are generalists. So you cannot tell that you would like to have a specific focus on this ETFs or that ETFs. They invest basically broad and very diversified. So it always depends from your situation. So let's assume now that you have 1,000 euro to invest right away. How you can do it? If you know that you have short-term horizon, let's say 1 to 3 years, please do not start invest with ETFs. Please just start invest with the time deposit. Please just invest in the call money or flex money. So which in Germany we call it Tagesgeldkonto or the Festgeldkonto. Nowadays there are a lot of providers, also banks, which give you between 1 to 2% interest on the money that you have in deposit. Of course, it's not enough, because nowadays we have also 8.7% inflation, so it won't even cover the inflation. But on the other hand, if you know that you have pretty long investment time horizon, you can easily start investing either with single stocks, bonds, or a variety of different ETFs. But always remember, if you invest in the ETFs, different art of ETFs, please don't put all eggs in one basket. This is what Warren Buffett said many times. So try to diversify your portfolio as much as possible. Don't buy for 1,000 euro only one ETFs, but split it in a different 3 to 4 ETFs, for example. Always keep in mind that you should always invest in those companies whose business you understand. Yeah. If you are not familiar with the topic of sustainable investment or AI or blockchain, please do not try to invest this kind of ETFs. And of course, don't react to short-term market sentiments. There are a lot of rumors and gossip nowadays, and maybe you feel a little bit insecure in that. But please try to avoid these rumors which are out there. And yes, I would like to start with the exercise with you. But before I will present it, and hopefully I will find someone who would like to do it with me. I would like to just make sure that if you have any other questions, if you are if you don't feel secure with the ETFs portfolio that you have at the moment, please just let us know. We have a special coaching. We have a special coaching for Axel Springer members, female members, with the special rabatt code, which probably Karolina will show in the chat shortly. So feel free to approach us as anytime. As I mentioned, we are independent advisor. We do not work with any banks or insurance company. We just only pay per hour, and we just only work independently from the providers. That's mean we will help find you the best solution that really suits to your goals and to your needs, without no hidden cost and confusing technical jargon. So thank you very much. Now I would like to go with the exercise with you.
We have one question.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe Ricarda, do you want to ask? Ricarda raised her hand.
Sorry, it was a mistake.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. All right, so we can move on. Does somebody...
Sorry, it was a mistake. My laptop is doing it also.
All good.
No worries, no worries. So I would like to go with you through the ETFs portfolio selection. Is there anyone who would like to share, who would like to do it with me, this exercise? So you can use also the fake data. And I don't want to know how much you earn. I just want to go with you through the topic and show you how much money you will get by the end of the day if you invest with the ETFs. Is anyone who would like to go with me and try it? Oh, we have it. Cool.
All right, what do I have to do?
Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this is German tool which we actually created, but I would translate it, of course, you know, so you can make sure that that you understand, all of you understand it correctly. So basically, the first question will be, for what would you like to save and invest your money? The first option is Vermögensaufbau, which is basically your pension, which is basically building wealth. The second option are Notgroschen, which are emergency funds. Eigenkapitalaufbau, it's in the case if you would like to save money or invest money because you consider to buy real estates in the future. Children, so a pretty obvious topic, and you could also have some individual goal of investment. Which one? In which direction should we go?
Just in my case?
Mm-hmm.
What about retirement?
Yeah,
What would it belong to?
Retirement, pension, and building your wealth is under Vermögensaufbau.
All right, so then I would like to try this.
Okay. Would you like to invest once on the monthly base or both of them?
Both.
Okay, cool. What will be the amount that you would like to invest?
20,000.
20,000.
Playing high.
Again, sorry.
I am playing high.
Yes. That's good. That's good. As I mentioned, it doesn't need to be the real numbers. And what will be the monthly saving plan?
I think 100 is realistic. Yeah.
100 is realistic. But the assumption is that you have enough emergency funds already on the side. Now, that those money that you want to put, they are just for the investment, that you don't need them for the next 4 years.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, because the goal is to build your wealth for the retirement, for the pension.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should reduce the. Can we change it instead of 20,000? Let's say 15,000.
Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. So now we are sure that we have enough emergency funds. So it is important to have this emergency funds basket of between 3 to 4 netto salary. So that's why we can start with 15K plus monthly saving 100 euro. Okay, would you like to reach any specific goal? Do you have in mind any specific amount that you would like to reach when you retire?
I think this is up to my savings. I mean, when I invest 15,000, I cannot expect 500,000.
It depends from the time horizon and your risk profile.
I see. Let's say.
So let's assume.
Is it a monthly goal or?
No, it's the whole amount. Yeah, the whole amount. So let's assume that you are retired and you will receive from the classical pension, the statutory pension, and the private pension. You will receive, I don't know, let's say 2,000 euro. Would it be enough for the retirement to have 2,000 euro per month, or it will be too less?
I don't know. Let's say it's too less.
Too less. Okay. Let's assume that I have to take my calculator. So let's assume if it's too less, let's assume that you need 4,000 euro per month when you are retired. 4,000 euro. Yeah. So that means 2,000 euro you need to build during the next couple of years in order to retire it in the way that you would like to have. So that's why it's 2,000 euro. We multiply 12. How old are you?
53.
53. So that's mean for the retirement you have still 23 years. Yeah. So we'll multiply.
No, it's only 14.
14. Yeah, 14.
67. That's my
67,
return.
exactly. So multiply 14. So that means you need minimum 340k. Yeah, let's assume yes, you have 340k. And good. How long do you want to save your money? Should we
14 years.
14
Let's say
years.
14
Okay.
years.
Yeah. With the ETFs portfolio, you can take money out anytime, nah? if it's needed. But let's assume the time horizon is 14 years. Now we want to know a little bit more about your financial situation. So at the moment, how much money do you have on the account after your fixed and variable costs? So let's assume you get your salary and you deducted fixed and variable cost. How much money every month is left? More than 750, less than 250, or between 250 and 500?
Yeah, the first one up to 250.
Okay, this one. Now the question is, how much liquid wealth do you have at the moment? So the money that you can from one day to another day, let's say, take out from the account and live with that.
Is it the money that is left when I paid the 15,000 we were talking about?
No, the cumulative money that you have at the moment.
Up to 20,000.
Okay.
No, the first one.
20,000. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay. Now here is the recommendation that that you should have minimum two monthly salary on your account, on your saving account, in case some emergency funds. You know. Is there a case that you have this 2 monthly salary on your account at the moment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. 2 months or more than 2 months?
More than 2.
More than 2. Okay, now we move to the risk profile. So the question is, so the insecurity, that's partially the money that you invest, this 15,000 euros plus monthly 100 euro, in case if you will probably lose a little bit this money. How do you feel about it? The first one, stimme gar nicht so. It's mean I'm not very sophisticated about it, and stimme voll so. It's mean okay, I would really worry about it. Yeah, so it's from 1 to 4, and 4 is okay. I would really worry about if I know that the part of this money, of this amount, I will lose.
The third one, stimme überwiegend zu.
The security of my capital or of my investment is the most important thing.
Yeah, yes, the fourth, stimme voll zu.
And in financial insecurities, but also possibilities, I don't want to go into the risk. So I'm a little bit risk averse investor.
The second one.
Also, the small loss on my account makes me nervous.
And the second one.
I would like to achieve high return on investment, and I'm ready to accept the risk of this investment.
The third one.
And the third one.
Not the third one, not the last.
The third one. Okay. And now your portfolio could go up and could go down, depends on the market situation. What are the acceptable rotation in your portfolio? -5 to +5, -10 to +10, -15, or more than -15%?
Let's say from minus to plus 10%. The second one.
Do you have experience and knowledge on the capital markets?
A little bit, yes.
A little bit?
Yes, I do.
Do you invest already in single stocks or commodities?
A little bit, yes.
How many investment per year did you make with the stocks or commodities?
From new business tasks or
yes.
no, in the I have some monthly savings.
And there are going.
Would it be more than 5, or is it just the amount of investments I have?
The amount of investment that you that you have.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. Okay. How long are you active on the stocks exchange?
More than 5 years.
More than 5 years. Okay, and could you tell us a little bit what is the amount that at the moment is in pro investment? So let's assume that you invest in stocks. So per stocks, how much money?
Less than 5,000.
Okay, now I have to agree that I explain you all the risk which are which contain the investment ETFs funds. And would you like to invest in sustainable aspects ETFs, or would you like to invest very broad and diversified portfolio without focus of social and government?
The second one, the broader.
Okay. Yeah, so based on the information that you gave us, we have the portfolio 50-50. That means 50% will be invested in equity stocks ETFs and 50 bonds ETFs. Let's see how much money it will be by the end of the day. I will make it a little bit smaller. I hope it's okay. Okay, so based on the information that you gave us, after 14 years, when you put in total 15,000 euro as a start capital plus monthly saving plan 100 euro, in total you pay into the account 32,000 euros, and depend on based on that how the market evaluate, and you will get return on investment between 47 to 55,000. So that means return on investment after cost, after ETFs cost, after transaction cost, and all the cost will be 3.8% per year. So that means your goal of having so this means the goal of reaching this 340,000, it won't happen, because either we have to increase the saving plan, or we have to increase the amount, or we have to go a little bit higher in the risk, Yeah. So in order to reach the goal of 340K, let's assume what's happening with the 70. If we have the 70, still it's not enough with the strategy. So if we even go up to the strategy 70-30, which is mean 70% will be invested in the stocks ETFs and 30% in bonds ETFs, we will have approximately return on investment 5.4% per year, but still we are missing quite a lot in this case.
I see. Quite interesting.
So let's assume we don't have the amount, right? But we start with the classical ETFs portfolio. As I mentioned, you can take money out at any time, and we prepared 3 different scenarios. So we have this bad scenario, we have this rational or realistic scenario, and we have this optimistic scenario. In this rational, realistic scenario, you will get probably 56,000 euro. If we believe that the market, that the capital markets are gonna change and increase and grow for the next 14 years, you could get 70,000 K. No? with this portfolio. That's why it's always the question, what kind of risk investor am I? Would I like to put a little bit more money in very chance-oriented ETFs, or am I a little bit balanced portfolio, balanced investor? So in this case, probably we should play a little bit more with the saving. Let's assume 250. Yeah, with 250. You could get between 80 to 92,000 euros, no?
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's always important is always put, if you have any bonus, if you have any additional 13th salary or any other perks, money perks, it makes sense to put into the investment account. Yeah. So let's assume that in the next 14 years, your career evaluates in the good direction, and you will have the higher salary on that, and you could put not 15,000, but let's assume 30K. It's assumption, and then you can increase the saving rate. So in this case, you will get between 106K to 122K, which is not so bad, exactly. And with the strategy 70, you will get between 125 and 150K. No?
But what kind of online and so on would it be?
So there are in terms of Anleihe, there are the classical US bonds, so government bonds. There are also bonds which invest in Europe. There are also bonds that invest in Eurozone, but without the bank sector, for example, in this case. No? And the stocks. Stocks ETFs invest very broadly, US, emerging markets, Europe, Eurozone, but also worldwide, Japan, Pacific, Pacific, and also Canada, for example, in this case. No? Yes.
Excuse me, are we finished with this example?
Yes.
Because my boss is waiting for me all the time, and I need to.
We just finished. I just want to show you.
Interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any other question?
Yes, we had a question in the chat regarding what you mentioned in the very beginning, where we had to choose between Vermögensaufbau and Eigenkapital. So where's the difference again? You already explained it, but maybe you could explain again.
So Vermögensaufbau, it's basically building your long-term wealth, like pension, like retirement. When with the age of 67, and Eigenkapitalaufbau, it's basically if you decide partially invest in a different assets class, like for example real estate, and you want to buy real estates in a couple of years, and you need the starting capital for the real estates in order to get the mortgage loan. It will be this case.
Okay, and I would have been interested in the tool that you were using. There was one button, how is this being calculated? So I guess it's a tool that you built, right, for your clients. And is it already linked with, I don't know, like somewhere where you then really invest, or is it just really a hypothesis?
No, it's actually the real link where we set up the portfolio. So we as FinMari, we also kind of robo-advisor. We also offer this this solution where we pick up a different ETFs based on the client's risk profile, and we invest as one hand sustainable topics, and on the other hand, very diversified portfolio. Yeah. So if you want, I can actually I can send you the link. You can play a little bit with it as well. You know, each of you have a different.
That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can put it into the chat.
And I would have one more general question. This is a theoretical question, but I was wondering myself, to be honest. So it's about the risks of this kind of investment, right? So, but I guess a quite general question. If, for example, I decide to go with Trade Republic and, you know, I get account there, invest my money. I think this is a quite settled company already, but still quite new, I would say. What happens if Trade Republic goes bankrupt or something, or something else happens? And does something happen with my money? Is it in any way dependent on the company where I invested in, just the tool that I used?
As a normally your money are secured, nah? So you will have the chance actually to take money until 100,000 K, and the question is how quickly they will be able to transfer you all the money, how quickly the process would look like. But basically if it will be this kind of case, probably then also the German governments will help in some way. Either any other big financial provider will take over assets and manage the assets in the future. Let's assume that this situation won't happen. Nah? It will be pretty creepy, actually. Huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Is there maybe any specific? Maybe you have any questions not specific into the ETFs topic? Maybe there are other topics that you are interested.
Michaela has raised her hand.
Yeah, thanks. So my question would be, now we found out our risk preferences, and you showed this slide where we could see where you would recommend the ETFs, the different sorts of ETF and bonds. And then what would be this next step to get from the math to just get exactly the ETF mixture that you have shown, or that you have deduced as reasonable for that person?
So the next step will be to choose the right ETFs based on the provider that you would like to invest. So, for example, Karolina, she mentioned that she's doing it with the Trade Republic. There are also the other options there, like Smart Broker, like ING DIBA, like robo-advisor solution. So then the next step is to just figure out what is the provider that you would like to have the account. Yeah, and based on that, you can select the ETFs which those providers have. It could be the case that, for example, Trade Republic, as an example, doesn't have all the ETFs that you would like to have. Nah? It could be the case that, for example, ING DIBA or Smart Broker or any other provider, they have broader aspect of ETFs. But Trade Republic, on the other hand, had also deal with a lot of ETFs providers nowadays. So the range of different arts of ETFs is very broad. So first of all, you have to decide, where do I want to open my investment account? Huh? Yeah, and then based on that, you select the different ETFs. And I put into the chart the Zugangscode exactly. Yeah. That you can use.
Cool, thank you. Any more questions to Karolina?
Oh, I see one in the chat from Kira. So Kira asked what happens when interest on saving deposit in German Zinsen rise again. Will ETFs then become unattractive as investment again? Are there other ETFs that are stable in this case? So we since November last year, we see a little bit increase of interest on saving deposit. So on the classical Tagesgeldkonto, Festgeldkonto, you can have 1 to maximal 2% interest on that. Still, it's lower than what you will get with the ETFs. Even if you invest with ETFs bonds, you will get probably more than 2% on average. No? So that means if the interest on the classical saving deposit rise again, it doesn't mean that the ETF become unattractive at all. No, because then you can shift it a little bit more in the long-term ETFs strategy, and then invest it a little bit more in equities and stocks ETFs in this case. But if you are a conservative investor, then I would recommend that you invest in actually bonds ETFs, so Anleihe ETFs in the first place. Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have a question?
It could be also the question which is not connected with the ETFs. It could be also the different assets class. No?
I would right now post the code again and the info that we posted last time, Karolina, into the chat. Maybe you can just quickly check it if it's correct still, or if I need to change something.
No, exactly. Yeah. So it's discount code which allows you to have a discounted session with us. As I mentioned, we can also go with you through not only through the portfolio ETFs portfolio with you, but we can also go through your pension or Versicherung topics as well.
That's great.
Yeah, and in this price of 299, you have 1.5 hour to 2 hour session where we go with you through the whole status quo of your financial, where we help you a little bit with the budgeting stuff if it's needed, and we explain you different options that you have on the market and prepare for you investment portfolio, either based on ETFs or single stocks or mutual funds. Up to you in which direction would you like to go, and then we have always follow-up appointment as soon as that you figure out in which direction would you like to go. We set up the follow-up appointment and we go with you step by step and show you how to buy the first ETFs or first mutual funds or first stocks. That's why there are always 2 meetings, and regarding the follow-up meeting, you can decide on your own when would you like to take. No? Yeah.
Okay, there is a new question in the chat. The business model of Filmery, like your revenue streams. Would you like to introduce it briefly?
Yes. So what we have on one hand the classical advisory, wealth management advisory session. So we are independent financial advisor. We do not earn money from the recommendation of any specific products. We don't get any provision on that. We just pay only based on the hour base per hour. We started last year also the academy. It's 8 weeks program where we help women go through the whole of this financial jungle. We talk about not only ETFs, but we talk also about the real estate, commodities, cryptocurrencies, sustainable investment as well. It's 8 weeks completely digital online program with live FAQ session with our advisors. At the moment, the whole academy is only in German. We are working on English version as well. It's coming, it's production, and on top of that, our business model also reached B2B clients, like for example Axel Springer, the big companies. There where they have this aspect of those companies who really take care of the aspect of diversity and inclusion, and where we offer the workshops and seminar. So we are offer also not only online but also offline seminars and workshops.
Okay, next question was, what are established robo-advisors in Germany?
So, for example, one of the well-known is, for example, Scalable Capital. They cost you 0.75%. Then you have also Grony. Then you have also Oscar. We also help you to set up a portfolio as a robo-advisor, but on top of that, we also advise you on the long term. Yeah.
And one more. When I choose higher risk ETFs, so ETFs with a higher risk assessment, might it be that I lose parts of my investment in the end, or could the return on invest be just smaller than with less risky ETFs?
So if you go with the higher risk ETFs, it could be the case that you partially in a year you will lose some money. So by the end of the year, it could be the case that your portfolio is in minus in this case. But on the long-term strategy, higher risk ETFs bring you much more higher return on investment. So the question is not how deep my portfolio will go down per year. The question is how quickly my portfolio will actually rebuild from the situation. You know, it could be the case that in a year your portfolio will validate between 5 to 10%, but on the long time horizon, you should calculate between the return on investment between 5 to 7%.
Yeah. What are some factors that would make an ETF more risky than another one? I guess it depends on how long is are the companies that my ETF represents are already on the market? How established are they? How big are they? So smaller companies would have a higher risk assessment, I guess.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one argument. The second indicator is, of course, the size of the ETFs. Please always keep in mind to take a bigger or established ETFs. Those one who has already managed more than 250 million assets, because then most of them, they are very established. That's the one thing. The second one, it's easier. I mean, working with the established ETFs provider, it's easier for you to have higher liquidity and flexibility. So assume you need this money for any reason, you can take this money out, and much more quicker and easier if the volume of ETF is higher. If you have the small ETFs, it could be the case that there is no one who would like to buy these ETFs, for example. You know, so it's always you have to keep in mind to have also the not only seller side but also buyer side. Yeah. And the higher, the biggest size or the biggest volume of ETFs, that's the probability that you will find the buyer for your ETFs, it's of course higher.
All right. Any other questions? Michaela, you unmuted a couple of minutes ago, but I guess it was not on purpose to say something. Okay.
Right, not on purpose.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I would just have one more question. What are ETFs that you are paying a more close attention to at the moment?
At the moment, actually, sustainable investment. Why? Because it's not only my personal approach. I believe it's not only that I believe that the sustainable products, they brought a little bit more this attention on the market, but I also saw that a lot of sustainable ETFs develop extremely good in compared to the classical markets. So one of the most popular MSCI Award Index, you have this classical MSCI Award Index versus MSCI Award SRI criteria. And if you compare what was the return on investment last 2 years, MSCI Award SRI criteria perform better than the classical one. So you can always find the green ETFs which perform better than the classical one.
Thank you. Okay, I can't see any more questions in the chat or raised hands. Do you have anything else to add, Karolina?
No, I think I am regarding the ETFs topics. I covered everything what I prepare. Yeah, if some of you maybe have another question regarding another assets class, I'm happy to help you. Happy to answer.
Okay, there are no questions for now, for today. I guess there was a lot of input, and I'm very happy that many joined. So we had over 60 participants in the beginning. I guess some people had to dial out at 1 for meetings. I will share the recording afterwards, and I will also again share the code that I already posted here in the chat. Yeah, so thank you so much, Karolina, for taking the time. It was a super interesting and very relevant, very important topic, I guess. I hope everybody liked it. Reach out to me just via MS Teams message or email or whatever if you have any feedback or have any further questions, and I can forward it. Yeah, other than that, I hope you all have a nice rest of the day and week. Maybe see some of you today evening at the after work in Journalist Club. And yeah, Karolina, see you again very soon for the next FinMarie session.
Yeah, super.
Thanks
Thank you
everyone.
so much.